Here we go. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Story Time. I'm glad you're all here today. My name is Mary, and we're going to be reading 3 stories tonight. I'm so happy to share this with you. We're going to read a book called But Not the Hippopotamus, and then a book called Olivia, and then a book called The Digging-est Dog. You know what I noticed? All 3 of these books are about animals. And all of them are about kind of funny animals, I think. Maybe you'll think they're funny too. And you know what? 2 out of 3 of these books are written with rhyming language. I happen to like that very much. I think it'll be fun to explore them, don't you? Here we go. But Not the Hippopotamus by Sandra Boynton. A hog and a frog cavort in a bog, but not the hippopotamus. A cat and 2 rats are trying on hats, but not the hippopotamus. A moose and a goose together have juice, but not the hippopotamus. A bear and a hare have been to a fair, but not the hippopotamus. Now the hog and the frog are out for a jog with the cat and the rats in their new running hats. And the moose and the bear and the goose and the hare are doing their best to keep up with the rest, but not the hippopotamus. Then the animal pack comes scurrying back. Hey, come join the lot of us! And she just doesn't know. Should she stay? Should she go? But yes, the hippopotamus! But not the armadillo. The end. I like it that the hippopotamus decided to get in the race at the end. Don't you like that part? This next book is called Olivia, written and illustrated by Ian Falconer. It's a book about a pig. This is Olivia. She is good at very many things. There she is singing from 40 very loud songs. She's left her headphones behind her. She is very good at wearing people out. Look, she's hammering a nail, and she's jumping, and she's running, and standing on her head, and yo-yoing, and stretching up to the sky, and kicking a ball, and stomping and shouting, and stirring something in a bowl. Maybe she's making a cake. And running away, and running back, and jump roping. She even wears herself out. Olivia has a little brother named Ian. He's always copying. Sometimes Ian just won't leave her alone, and Olivia has to be firm. Olivia lives with her mother, her father, her brother, her dog Perry, and Edwin, the cat. In the morning after she gets up and moves the cat and brushes her teeth and combs her ears and moves the cat, Olivia gets dressed. She has to try on everything. How many different outfits can you see her trying on? She puts on a ballerina dress and a turtleneck and some red shoes and a bikini. Oh, and some earmuffs and gloves and some pantyhose and a baseball cap and a different bathing suit and hat and some sunglasses and some tights and a top and an opera ball gown and a backpack and a striped shirt and some underpants and a sundress. That's a lot of outfits. On sunny days, Olivia likes to go to the beach. She feels it's important to come prepared. Flippers and earplugs and swimmies. She's got everything. Last summer when Olivia was little, her mother showed her how to make sand castles. She got pretty good. Have you ever made a sandcastle that big? Sometimes Olivia likes to bask in the sun. When her mother sees that she's had enough, they go home. Look at her suntan. There they go home again. Every day, Olivia is supposed to take a nap. It's time for your you-know-what, her mother says. Of course, Olivia is not at all sleepy. On rainy days, Olivia likes to go to the museum. She heads straight for her favorite picture. Can you see what's in that picture? It's a picture of some ballerinas, isn't it? Olivia looks at it for a long time. What could she be thinking? What do you think Olivia's thinking when she looks at that picture of ballerinas? That's what she's thinking. I think Olivia wants to be a ballerina. But there is one painting Olivia just doesn't get. I could do that in about 5 minutes, she says to her mother. That painting is by Jackson Pollock. As soon as she gets home, she gives it a try. Time out. You shouldn't paint on the walls, should she? After a nice bath and a nice dinner, oh, look, spaghetti and meatballs. It's time for bed. But of course, Olivia's not at all sleepy. Only 5 books tonight, Mommy, she says. No, Olivia, just 1. How about 4? 2, 3? Oh, all right, 3, but that's it. There they are. Look, they're reading a book called Callous. It's about an opera singer. When they've finished reading, Olivia's mother gives her a kiss and says, "You know, you really wear me out, but I love you anyway." And Olivia gives her a kiss back and says, "I love you anyway, too." The end. Look, she's dreaming about being an opera singer. I love that book about Olivia. I think it's so funny. And I like how she dreams about doing so many different things. Let's read one more, shall we? This one's about a dog. In fact, it's called The Digging-est Dog by Al Perkins, illustrated by Eric Gurney. I was the saddest dog you ever could see. Sad because no one wanted me. The pet shop window was my jail. The sign behind me said, "For sale." It's a sad dog. I was tied to a bare, hard floor of stone. I could not even dig for a bone. I was living all of my life alone, a dog that no one wanted to own. And then, one day at 4:30, Sammy Brown came through the door. Sam took one look at me and said, "Why are you tied up here inside?" "I've always wanted a dog like you, so I tell you what I'm gonna do. I'll take you out to the farm with me. You'll play outdoors where you should be." I felt as happy as a pup when Sam paid the man and picked me up. He rubbed my ears, he scratched my head. "I think I'll call you Duke," he said. Sam gave me a collar. He gave me a lead. We left that shop at tremendous speed. We went a long way out of town. We came to the farm of Sammy Brown. It was the nicest place I'd ever seen, a pretty white house in a field of green. And in the shade of the apple tree, a special doghouse just for me. Next morning, while Sam did his chores, he let me run and play outdoors. I'd never played outdoors before. I'd always lived on that hard floor. I'd never run on nice soft ground. Now I barked with joy as I ran around. Sam looked at me and scratched his head. "Duke, you need some friends," he said. He blew his whistle. He blew a blast, and many dogs came running fast. I'd never met a dog before. Now I was meeting 6 or more. They walked around and looked at me. They looked me over carefully. Then at last I heard them say, "He's one of us. He'll be okay." One dog, who wasn't very big, suddenly began to dig. The others started digging too. But that was something I could not do. I'd never learned to dig in that store. How could I on that hard stone floor? I tried to dig, but alas, I couldn't. I wiggled my paws, and my paws just wouldn't. I fell on my ear. I fell on my face. I fell on myself all over the place. The others said, "Duke may be big, but he's no good. He cannot dig." They stuck their noses in the air. They walked away. They left me there. "I'll teach you, Duke," cried Sammy Brown. "I'll show you how to dig deep down." He crouched beside me. With his hand, he dug a hole in a pile of sand. I tried it too, but I still couldn't. I wiggled my paws, and my paws just wouldn't. I'd never learned to dig in that store. How could I on that hard stone floor? Sammy sighed. I almost cried. My eyes and nose were full of dirt. My paws and claws and elbows hurt. I had a pain across my back. I knew I'd never get the knack. Sam felt sad, and I felt bad. If only I could make him glad. We both knew I'd never get it right. Sam and I couldn't sleep that night. So when the sun rose in the sky, I thought I'd give it one more try. I wiggled a paw. I saw that it could. I wiggled the other. I saw it would. I could dig with my paws. I could dig with my claws. I felt no pain across my back. I knew at last I had the knack. Sammy Brown looked out at me. He saw me digging happily. "Good for you, Duke," Sammy cried. "I knew you'd do it if you tried." So I dug further. I dug faster. I dug and dug to please my master. I dug up grass. I dug up weeds. I dug up daisies. I dug up seeds. I dug up the fence. I dug up the gates. I dug up the garden of Mrs. Thwaites. I dug up the rooster. I dug up the hens. I dug up the sheep and the pigs in their pens. I dug and dug. I couldn't stop. I dug up the barber in his barber shop. I dug up Mr. Rodney Thayer sitting in the barber's chair. I dug my way right through the town. I dug a lot of buildings down. I was having so much fun, I dug up Highway 81. I came to a hill. I dug to the top, but all of a sudden I had to stop. Right in front of me, looking down, there stood my master, Sammy Brown. Sam didn't smile or pat my head. He only glared at me and said, "I'm sending you back to that animal store. They'll tie you to that hard stone floor and you'll never, never dig anymore." I couldn't run. I couldn't hide. Dogs came at me from every side. And then suddenly I knew there was just one thing for me to do. I ran away from Sammy Brown. I dug a hole that went straight down. I left him standing up on top. I dug and dug. I couldn't stop. How deep I dug, I could not tell, but soon I found I'd dug a well. Mud and water up to my chin. I started to sink. What a fix I now was in. I started to sink. I started to yelp. "Help!" I yelped. "Help, help, help, help!" I could hear them way above my head. I could hear every word they said. One dog growled, "He wrecked our town. This serves him right, just let him drown." But Sam cried, "Duke, you've been bad. You've made me sad instead of glad, but we're not going to let you die. We'll get you out. At least we'll try." Then at last I heard him shout, "Maybe we can pull you out." What they're doing. Slowly, slowly, down they came, each dog part of a long dog chain. I reached up. I touched a nose. I felt them lift me by my toes. Slowly, slowly, bit by bit, they dragged me up out of the pit. I thanked the dogs and Sammy Brown, and then I started back toward town. I knew I had to dig once more to fix things up as they were before. That's what I did. I dug back gates. I dug back the garden of Mrs. Thwaites. I dug back the roosters and the hens. I dug back all the pigs and their pens. I dug all day in the summer sun. I dug back Highway 81. I dug back everything in town. Everything that I had knocked down. Today when I dig, well, I'm careful now. I'm useful too. Sam lets me plow. He'll never send me to that store or tie me up on a hard stone floor. My dog friends watch and wonder why they can't dig as well as I. The end. That was a fun book, isn't it? It's a little silly to dig up the garden and the streets and the buildings. Well, I hope you enjoyed this story time. I was very glad that you joined me today. And I hope you all have a safe evening. Sleep well. Bye-bye.